Welcome to the Syndicate from the Business of Hockey and the Goal with your hosts, Richard York and Les Kowalski. Sit down, have a cigar and scotch, listen to some good music, and we'll talk hockey and business. Let's start this episode. Welcome to part 3, the continuation of last week's Syndicate episode, and the series, The War of the Competitive Edge in Hockey. Also sending best health wishes to Meghan Chayka, who advised on her Twitter account over the weekend she was self-isolating herself for 14 days because of the COVID-19 pandemic and due to recent travel to the United States. Wishing her the best. Also in Boston with that sports conference. The other thing that I want to bring up is that in that sports conference, there's another speaker. So under the section called Rushing to Analytics, Hockey's Ability to Predict and Project Talent, this individual is going to be also speaking. What it says in the description, hockey is traditionally a conservative sport with a lot of attention paid to scouting. Using new data and analytics, Stathletes is able to find trends in generational talent that were historically not quantified. This talk will focus on key examples and discuss the future trends in the sport. And the speaker is Meghan Chayka,
AKA Digital Scouting.
Correct. And Meghan Chayka is the co-founder with John Chayka, who is the general manager at the Arizona Coyotes. And so it's really important to understand is that this model about the digital scouting, it is a different perspective. Just because people are looking at it as a fan from the analytics side, there's more to this. There's revenue streams that are coming from this model moving forward.
Yeah, like they're not pitching the entertainment side of this. Like Stathletes doesn't matter about viewership. They do want to be recognized as far as the product that they're pushing out. And it's certainly a movement that's carrying out. But, you know, this is all about business practices and the success of such business practices. And you having found this guy from the Queen's University there, I like hearing about that. That means that we're not crazy, that we're here doing what we're doing, but it's we're having fun doing it. And this is going to be an adventure for us as we move along. And we want you guys to come with us. So
from my LinkedIn account, there was a post that was placed by an individual that I know, and he is a well-known social marketer out of Los Angeles. He made this post today. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read the response that I provided and why that links into what we're talking about. And this is what he wrote. I was on a phone call with a founder the other day, and I explained to him step by step how we can blow up LinkedIn. He couldn't believe I was willing to share our secret sauce. Wow, you literally just told me how to do this. He was convinced no founder in their right mind would just tell their clients how to do things. I assured him that I didn't mind. I give away 90% of our knowledge. Gaining clients is all about trust, and you earn trust by having an abundance mindset. A smart CEO is going to think, oh, wow, now that I know how they do it, I can just do it myself. And if they do, good for them. They'll tell their friends about me, and then they'll call me when the old tactics stop working. I was talking to a prospect about this a while ago, but the truth is most people won't act on the knowledge anyways. What we do isn't simple. So even knowing how it's done will still take too long for them to just do it themselves. If what you sell is that easy to copy, it's probably not valuable enough. I believe in abundance and trust to extend my relationships to unforeseeable futures. There's enough for all of us. Do you agree? This was my response. This is going to become one of my favorite posts I've read in a long time, in quotation marks. If what you sell is that easy to copy, it's probably not valuable enough. I've said this for a long time. Just because you have knowledge does not create value, but producing a perspective from that knowledge that can generate a result, be monetized, and not easily duplicated does create value. At the end of the day, when you start looking at Dubis and you start looking at this new age form of hockey, you're selling knowledge. You're selling knowledge in different ways. And what Richard was talking about, the data sets, it falls in line with where we are going in the economy in this modern age. If you look at the arenas where they're going to be having these video cameras installed, it begins a process just like we talked about previously of this digital athlete, either for scouting, being able to sell that physical data of what's being gathered. Amazon AWS with the NFL is already doing video analysis, right? Yeah. Stathletes is doing video analysis.
Yeah.
Right? It's already being pulled together where you're using those endpoints and then you're doing quantitative analysis on those endpoints to determine how do you move forward. In the case of the NFL, they've introduced the concept of the digital athlete. I think that as we move forward with the Black Ops Blackboard, it's not only going to just be about translating analytics. I think that's going to fall under, like I was talking about previously, branding it under the digital athlete and then rolling things from under there. We will evolve that Black Ops Blackboard into different directions. But I think that where we are in the hockey league and where sports is, I think what you are seeing is that foundation of the digital athlete being developed out. And as technology now with artificial intelligence, with crazy things like quantum computing, where if they are able to introduce quantum computers in the next 5 to 10 years, I know Google introduced a quantum computer. The speed of a quantum computer is 1,000 times faster than a regular silicon-based computer. What I read was that within 5 years, computers today for artificial intelligence will have the speed to do data processing at the level of the human brain. When you introduce quantum computing and that type of hardware, it will accelerate to a level we've never seen before. I think what you're seeing is the beginning structure of the digital scout, and it's going to evolve over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's going to introduce a level that no one has ever imagined. You have a new generation of people who have grown up playing video games, coming through the ranks. This is not going to be foreign to them in any way. They're going to accept it. And so what you're seeing, I think, right now is this major generational transition. It's no different with people who buy computers and can use them, or those that can't buy computers and hate them and want nothing to do with them. I think as a generation, as you move farther down, I think it's going to be very accepting of analytics. And I think people and fans are going to expect more data, and they're going to want to still have the entertainment factor, and they're going to want specialized tools. That's the way I think what's going to be coming out of all this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the league evolves as time goes on. Even with your little baseball poll there where they said they liked pre-analytics beforehand, it's because there's less gambling and whatnot. As entertainment value for the league, you require a fan base. In the presence of hockey, they're still pushing that fan base. They're still pushing to try and compete with the other big leagues. Hockey can't right now. They can't compete with football. They can't compete with basketball or baseball. They have to try. That's the big fish that they're chasing, and that's the standard they're trying to set for themselves too. So they will have to modify league rules and league practices to make sure that their fan base is growing, that the business is growing. That's why you see rule changes to help promote goal scoring. You see pads shrinking on goalies. You see nets becoming bigger. You see the little trapezoids in the corners. It's all geared towards changing the value of the product that you see on the ice. They're trying to make it more entertaining to push bigger fan base numbers. And not everybody wants to go to a hockey game and see an MMA line brawl breakout, right? You have a lot of people that just want to see the speed of the game and the talent of the game. So it's something that evolves as time goes on, and business ownership and the franchise ownership in the NHL has to adapt as they go. And analytics is a very strong tool to use as to where to go.
Do you want to know how strong of a tool it is? So from this article from the Smith Business School, there's a section that is headlined Hockey Embraces Analytics. And it says it is part of a growing analytics movement transforming sports. It says, according to a report in Forbes earlier this year, sports analytics is expected to become a $4 billion industry by 2022. It's not just hockey either. I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, and the year they won the Super Bowl in 2017-2018 season, they were heavily into analytics. I think teams are getting smarter, and any competitive advantage they go for, they want. It says here, analytics is also having a profound impact on how sports are played. Experts say analytics is the prime reason for 2-decade rise in the three-point shots in the NBA. In 1997, teams averaged 15 three-point attempts per game. In 2017, they tried 27. Hockey is a relative newcomer similar to the movement, the NHL's so-called Summer of Analytics, which saw teams across the league draft analytics experts, didn't occur until 2014, more than a decade after the Michael Lewis's book Moneyball helped sports analytics achieve mainstream recognition. That's what we're talking about. This is not going away.
No, well, there's no way it's going away. It's only going to evolve and push, and it may change as time goes on and as teams collect more data, but it's exciting. How do you get into it? How do you get into this analytics? Like if you're sitting at home right now and you want to jump on board, what would you have to do?
That answer will be answered in our Black Ops Blackboard format.
But why don't we talk about some of the schooling that you can do to get in on this? Like we talked about the Queen's University, talked about John Chayka and his educational background was in business. And you look at Kyle Dubas and his educational background was sports management. But when we're addressing the Calgary Flames and what Brian Burke did when he was in Alberta, he introduced his own Hockey Institute program. Why don't you start it off and we'll chat about that a bit.
Brian Burke worked with Athabasca University to develop an online MBA in hockey management. What they did, they took the existing MBA program, they augmented it with a new curriculum that was more focused on hockey management. I'm just going to read something here quickly. Athabasca University has collaborated with the Business of Hockey Institute to develop an elite graduate level online MBA in hockey management to elevate the business of hockey. For the first time in hockey's history, a program is in place to develop the leaders in the boardroom rather than on the ice. This exclusive online program is designed for individuals working in a managerial capacity within the hockey industry and related industries. Students will have significant management experience in important functions within the business of hockey, including ticketing, marketing, communications, fan development, customer service, social media, sales, events, building operations, legal, merchandising, finance, media, analytics, and hockey operations. Students from hockey-related industries will also bring rich perspectives on corporate partnerships, revenue generation, and leveraging fan involvement beyond the game. The hockey-specific courses build on Athabasca University's internationally acclaimed online MBA for executives program and focuses specifically on the issues, challenges, and opportunities confronting middle and senior level managers in a rapidly changing global hockey industry. And so this program basically starts to bridge the understanding from the institutional side of what is required to run a franchise and starts putting that into an actual curriculum format. And that is from what you were saying, Richard, the Business of Hockey Institute was also developed by Brian Burke.
Yes, developed by Brian Burke, who was the president of hockey operations for the Calgary Flames at the time. And another co-founder is Richard Winter, who was a registered NHLPA player agent at the time. So they collaborated and they made this Business of Hockey Institute. And it's interesting to see how he has dipped into a lot of what we're talking about, actually. When you look at the course curriculum and what it breaks down to is that it's management of a hockey operations staff, which deals with contract negotiation, player development, dealing with a farm team system, all of that kind of stuff for the day-to-day management of a hockey operations. Also breaks into the business side of how to run that franchise, which has to do with what you talked a lot about there with media numbers and promotions and business strategies on how to push your product, to push your brand. And it seems that they're certainly promoting towards people that are already in the hockey communities. The University of Athabasca program, a lot of the people that are promoting it are people that are involved in the WHL and the minor hockey leagues and stuff like that. They're promoting to people who are already into the hockey industry that want to beef up their resume or have almost like an express lane to experience, is that they want, instead of breaking down the experience through time, they want to give you a nice strong foundation right off the bat, which helps accelerate your development on the business side of hockey and works a lot like the development of the product of hockey.
Well, and I think that that's one of the major issues, right? Is that when you look at hockey and the industry that hockey is as an industry, it is institutional business. This is not your normal business structure, right? You're not just walking into a corporate environment. A corporate environment with an MBA, you could be working for a firm that's worth $5 million, or you could be working with a firm that's $50 million. But when you're dealing with a hockey franchise, because you're at an institutional level and because you're dealing with such high numbers, right? We're looking at 100, 200, 300 million dollars at a minimum running costs. And an MBA isn't enough, right? You have to have a strong foundation on the institutional side, and you need to understand that industry, right? So what they're talking about, if you look at this curriculum, right at the tail end, they talk about something called the Certified Hockey Professional Designation, or CHP. And it says that the last 6 courses in the MBA for executives has been developed in collaboration with members of the Business of Hockey Institute Advisory Council on topics unique to hockey. Basically, that's the seal of approval. You can still go and get your MBA in hockey from Athabasca, but you need the Institute's blessing that you know what you're talking about and that you're not going to walk in, cause damage, and potentially take the franchise and run it off the rails, right? So it makes a lot of sense what they've done. And I know that you were talking about Chicago and how they were looking at adopting this in Chicago.
Well, they have. They're one of the, I think they are the first NHL franchise that has adopted this program. And just to add to what you were saying, I think you need 3 years experience in the hockey operations department too to get that designation. So it's not just a certificate you get at the end of school. There's actually a practicum part in it. But that speaks to all you young hockey players and stuff like that. Like when you look at Dubas and Chayka, we talked about this earlier, that it doesn't end with hockey. You know, like if you can't play on the ice, or if you're not drafted to move up a league or whatever, you know, there's options. Lots and lots of options, and the options are endless, and this is just proof that the options are evolving.
This has been part 3 of the War of the Competitive Edge in Hockey from the Syndicate, produced by the Business of Hockey and the Goal. Next week, we'll be posting part 4 of this 4-part series. Thanks for listening to the Syndicate from the Business of Hockey and the Goal. Till next week. Thanks for listening to the Syndicate from the Business of Hockey and the Goal, produced by the Power Roadmap Podcast. Until next time.